Part 5. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 41. In the corner, a table was covered with food. Zhang Cheng held a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice in his hand and took a sip. Seeing the two girls in front of him eating exquisite snacks elegantly, a smile couldn't help but appear on Junyi's face. Zhang Cheng pushed a mousse cake in front of Su Qingying and said softly, "Try this, matcha mousse. In the hot weather, it's good to have a bite of mousse." The gentle voice spoke plain words, giving the two girls a feeling of spring breeze. Even Su Qingying felt that his voice sounded too good at this moment. When Chen Xiaoxi saw the matcha mousse, she was also surprised and said, "Hey, cousin, how do you know that my eldest wife likes to eat matcha flavor?" Su Qingying's calm eyes also flashed with a hint of surprise. Her favorite thing is to eat all kinds of matcha-flavored cakes. At this moment, Zhang Cheng specially brought a piece of matcha-flavored mousse to himself. Is it a coincidence? Su Qingying raised her head, looked at Zhang Cheng with her clear and bright eyes, and blinked. Looking into her eyes, Zhang Cheng felt that his consciousness was slightly confused. Her eyes are not as domineering and shy as Su Yao's. It's not as clean and translucent as Lin Qingjian, who can be seen through at a glance. Su Qingying's eyes seem to be able to see through your inner thoughts. In her eyes, you seem to be unable to hide your true thoughts. Very magical. It has to be said that for any woman, Zhang Cheng thinks he can win them with 100% certainty, but when facing Su Qingying, he feels like he has nothing to do. Of course, this is just a moment. After coming back to his senses, Zhang Cheng raised his eyebrows, and the smile at the corner of his mouth seemed to rise a little. There was a slight smile on Zhang Cheng's lips. He was so lethal to women that almost no women could resist him. Even Chen Xiaoxi lowered her head when she saw Zhang Cheng smiling, for fear that she would have some inappropriate thoughts. Even Su Qingying felt that her steadily beating heart felt a little faster at that moment. She picked up a small spoon, scooped out a small piece from the mousse, put it into her mouth and ate it gracefully. Then, her beautiful eyebrows twitched slightly. She could resist other delicacies, but she couldn't resist matcha-flavored food. It seems a little sweeter, and I put more matcha powder in it. Su Qingying put down the spoon and said with unfinished meaning. Zhang Cheng quickly pulled the cake in front of him, picked up a spoon and took a spoonful of it and put it into his mouth. Well, it's indeed a lot sweeter. Seeing this scene, Su Qingying paused for a moment, and soon she came to her senses. A brilliant smile bloomed on that perfect face that could make Zhang Cheng score 99 points. It was as if the sun rising in the depths of winter melted the snow. Su Qingying tilted her little head and asked with a smile, "Is it delicious?" Zhang Cheng squinted his eyes, as if he was reminiscing. "It's delicious, the taste of matcha is sweet and the aroma is charming." This sentence made Su Qingying's smile even more beautiful. Chen Xiaoxi was eating an apple quietly on the side, her eyes scanning back and forth on the two people's faces. Seeing their looks, he whispered, "Is this also an act? It's no different from the real thing, okay? It's obviously a fresh, sour, and sweet taste, but it feels like eating lemon to Chen Xiaoxi. So sour." Those who had been paying attention to the three people were shouting inwardly when they saw this scene. The dog food was said to be sweet, so why did you give me lemon? Seeing two people with peak looks showing off their affection for each other, they just felt so dazzling. Why do you want me to see this scene? Soon, it was 10:30. Looking at the equipment in this hall, Zhang Cheng estimated that this group of people would definitely have a carnival. Anyway, he has achieved his goal tonight, which is to contact Su Qingying, completed. Get ready to leave. I have some things to deal with tomorrow, so I'll leave first. Xiaoxi, you will have your driver come to pick you up later, Zhang Cheng said to Chen Xiaoxi, who was lying on the sofa and scrolling through his mobile phone. Chen Xiaoxi nodded repeatedly, "Ang, I know. Anyway, Her identity has been exposed. Since she doesn't have to go to school in such a low-key manner, what should she do? With the arrival of Zhang Cheng, the atmosphere in the entire hall has been afraid to get high, for fear of making him unhappy. There was always soft music, and even the lights were kept dark. After explaining Chen's ioxy, Zhang Cheng turned his head with a charming smile on his face. Qingying, open your WeChat and let me show you something fun. Su Qingying glanced at Zhang Cheng with her beautiful eyes and chuckled, but I don't want to see it. After saying that, he winked. That's no good, you have to see it. Zhang Cheng's smile did not change. Looking at Zhang Cheng quietly, after a while, Su Qingying suddenly took out a mobile phone from her exquisite one-shoulder crossbody bag. Here you go. Zhang Cheng took it over and took a look, and he was immediately happy. No wonder she suddenly played with her phone for a while just now. She expected that I would ask for her WeChat address, right? Without hesitation, Zhang Cheng took out his phone and scanned the QR code. Added successfully. Taking back the phone, Su Qingying asked with a smile, what do you want to show me? You wait a moment. After saying that, he suddenly approached Su Qingying. Before she could dodge, Zhang Cheng raised his phone and gave her an unexpected surprise. 1. Click. The camera sounds. Zhang Cheng adjusted the brightness and photo effects again and sent it directly to her. Surprise. After saying this, he walked out of the hall under the envious eyes of many boys. Chen Xiaoxi didn't react until Zhang Cheng disappeared at the door. Damn it, is my cousin so good at flirting with girls? Su Qingying was stunned for a while. Was she being forcibly photographed? Picking up the phone and looking at the photo sent by Zhang Cheng, his red lips involuntarily curved into an extremely graceful arc. After leaving the Concept Hotel, Zhang Cheng returned to his car and sat down. Thinking of Su Qingying's appearance, he suddenly felt an uncontrollable urge to get to know her. Even though it was a very intimate act before. But Zhang Cheng knew that Su Qingying's current affection for him might be limited to being a friend. Far from having feelings for myself. He understood that if he wanted to gain Su Qingying's favor, or even develop further with her, he had to be extremely careful. Once he behaves differently, the result will be Su Qingying's alienation. It's really challenging. Shaking his head, Zhang Cheng hummed a tune and started the car. Aston Martin DBS Fast Drive Away Concept Hotel. Ding, get Su Qingying's favorability add 20. Congratulations, you got add 800 villain value. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 42. Back in the villa, Zhang Cheng came out of the bathroom to dry his hair and lay on the bed. The main task of the system is to plunder the protagonist's luck and change the fate of his miserable supporting character. This can be known from the function of the system. However, this plot world is not big at all. It revolves around the development of the medical god protagonist and gradually reaches the top of the world. As for the god of medicine, he must be someone seeking death, or a protagonist who fell into a cave and gained an inheritance. Then he changed his previous status as a loser and made rapid progress from then on, from an ordinary student with nothing to an ordinary student, to a big shot that all the major forces are vying for. Su Yao can only be said to be the protagonist's opponent in the early stage when he was still weak, and the opponent of the first heroine he liked. As for Zhang Cheng, he is completely a minor and incidental character. Apart from bringing connections and benefits to the Su family, he basically has nothing to do with the protagonist. He has been traveling through time for so long, and if he doesn't deliberately approach the protagonist according to the plot, he will basically be able to confront him when the protagonist becomes more mature. But at that time, Ye Tian would not look at his little son-in-law. However, he is bound to the Su family, and Zhang Cheng really doesn't like Song Qing, and has had conflicts with Song Qing many times. Even if he doesn't touch the protagonist now, the plot world will definitely arrange something for them to face each other. Now Zhang Cheng's way of obtaining villain value is also very clear. He has villain value both by grabbing the protagonist's opportunity and by conquering the heroine. It is clear that if he wants to become stronger, he must not only rely on the various plots he knows, but also must fight with only when the protagonist is facing each other. For example, the three female protagonists Lin Qingjian, Zhou Wanqing, and Su Qingying currently appear, and conquering them is also one of the main tasks. Lin Qingjian, one of the novice heroines with an innocent family background. Zhou Wanqing, the heroine attached to a puppet CEO. Su Qingying, a heroine who cannot get a leading role, is a real heroine, but does not belong to the protagonist. Su Yao is the villain, not the heroine. Later, after the Su family was bankrupted by Ye Tian and the Song family, Su Yao went to prison for various reasons. Sister Yao, don't worry, as long as I'm here, we won't go in to eat national food. Zhang Cheng had a vague feeling that if he guides Song Yiwei, the beautiful CEO named in the title of the novel, he will definitely receive a very generous reward. All he is doing now is contacting all parties and laying a little net. When the real confrontation with the protagonist Ye Tian begins, it will be at the Song family reception 3 days later. When the time comes, Ye Tian will get to know many people from the family under the deliberate promotion of the Song family. Of course, there will also be many enemies. Not everyone in Ye Tian will be friends with him. There are always some people who will be arranged to become villains, just like himself. Thinking of this, Zhang Chengdu couldn't help but want to laugh. If I had traveled through time and didn't remember the plot, I would have been an inconspicuous son-in-law. The cannon fodder level villain Gao Fushui. After seeing the current situation clearly, Zhang Cheng leaned on the bedside and squinted his eyes. All the fights started after the drinking party. When the time comes, he will make the first move, which is to bring the net he laid out 2 days ago to the surface. The next afternoon, Lu Feng, who had been having a 5.5 night at the internet cafe with his friends all night last night, received another call from Zhang Cheng. After only 4 hours of sleep, he got up without stopping and drove to Jiang's villa. After waiting outside the manor for nearly 10 minutes, he saw Zhang Cheng slowly walking out. After taking a puff of cigarette, Lu Feng said with envy, "Sure enough, it's bullshit for others to say you're bankrupt, but you actually bought this villa and estate back." In his eyes, it was true that Zhang Cheng's Zhang family was bankrupt, but this guy definitely had other industries outside, otherwise he wouldn't be so heroic. First, he took back the villa that was auctioned, then spent more than 200 million to buy his own unfinished project, and then spent several million to hire an inexplicable person to be the president of the company he founded. Forgive me for not understanding this operation, but now I am still a partner with Zhang Cheng, and it is not bad to follow him around. If it works, I will be a Lu family from scratch. If not, I will also make 200 million. Worth it? Zhang Cheng was also an old smoker. He lit a cigarette skillfully. Zhang Cheng opened the scissor door, got in the passenger seat and said, "Stop talking nonsense, let's go and find him at Wulong's territory." Today Lu Feng bought a new car, Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. Lu Feng was shocked when he heard this. "Go to Wulong's place? I won't go. It's not like you don't know how cruel our family and Wulong were when they were fighting for territory before." Wulong, like his father, both made their fortunes in that era, but because his father had some brains and knew how to develop a circle, he was able to clear his name in today's era and become a family with a strong foundation. They are much more powerful than families like the Song family and the Su family that are purely engaged in business. Zhang Cheng took another puff of cigarette and said slowly, "Don't worry, after today, there will be no conflicts between the Lu family and the Wu family. There will only be a relationship of interest. I have a way to help you resolve the old issues in the past." He didn't lie. The Lu family and the Wu family were just fighting. Wulong, with the help of Ye Tian, could become friends with the person who killed his wife, not to mention their small interests in fighting for territory? And my unfinished project is still on his territory. If you don't have a good relationship with him, you will have a lot of headaches later. Lu Feng stood there in silence for a while, gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I'll trust you again." Soon, the two people came to an iconic entertainment club in another area. The car stopped outside the door, and Zhang Cheng took Lu Feng directly to the third floor. At the reception desk on the third floor of the club, a tall woman wearing a cheongsam came over and said to them with a smile, "Two guests, we are currently not accepting guests on the third floor." Before she could finish speaking, Zhang Cheng sat down on the sofa in the hall. He said casually, "Inform Wu Long and tell him that Zhang family Zhang Cheng is looking for him." Hearing this, the cheongsam woman's expression suddenly changed, and then her tall and plump body bent forward. "Okay, Mr. Zhang, please wait a moment." Zhang Cheng was not interested in watching the game, so he waved his hand and told her to stay aside. Even though Wu Long is already in his 50s or 60s, he is still very enthusiastic about this kind of romance. Even after his wife died, he never remarried. However, he still has quite a lot of women, and more than a dozen of them have arranged a suite. Soon, a man in a security uniform trotted over, walked to the front, bowed, and said respectfully, "Mr. Zhang, Mr. Long, please come over and have a seat." Zhang Cheng stood up from the sofa and patted the suit on his body, as if he was afraid it would be stained with dust. "Lead the way." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 43. Following the security guard to a presidential private room, the security guard immediately opened the door and stood aside. "Mr. Zhang, please." Zhang Cheng walked into the private room, and the classic old song stopped immediately. The laser light with starry sky effect turns off and the normal light turns on. After a quick glance, Zhang Cheng only saw a middle-aged and elderly man with sparse hair but a certain proportion of body sitting on a sofa. There was a scar 3 to 4 centimeters long on his cheek, which looked very ferocious. But for such a person, the old face was full of smiles, and the evil flash in his eyes looked very inconsistent. There were 4 or 5 young princesses from the KTV downstairs hugging each other, all wearing standard short skirts and uniforms. "Mr. Zhang, please sit down. Little Lu family, find a place to sit by yourself." Facing Zhang Cheng, Wu Long's tone was very polite, but when it came to Lu Feng, he looked impatient. With a snap of her fingers, a princess in a short skirt carefully took a wooden box and opened it. There were dozens of cigars inside. Cohiba, worth 110,000 per box, is the most expensive authentic cigar you can smoke. After taking out one, Wu Long pushed the cigar box in front of Zhang Cheng. He lit one on his own. "Haha, Mr. Zhang is so funny. As he gets older, he likes to do arty things. I wonder what Mr. Zhang wants from me, Wu Long." Zhang Cheng said calmly, "I want to discuss business with you." "Oh? Mr. Jiang's family has a big business. Even if it goes bankrupt, it will still be more powerful than me, a person who can't stand on the stage. I wonder what you can talk to me about," Wu Long said casually. "Want to go ashore?" Zhang Cheng's 4 simple words made Wu Long's eyes narrow and he put down his hands that were wandering around the princess' body. "Everyone, go out and hold the door for me. If anyone dares to reveal those 4 words just now, they will all sink into the river and feed the fishes." At the end of the sentence, Wu Long's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Suddenly, all the KTV princesses did not dare to look at Zhang Cheng. Everyone could not help but tremble and left the private room in a hurry. "He's gone, Mr. Zhang, please continue." At this moment, Wu Long seemed a little excited, which he shouldn't be at his age. Seeing his reaction, Zhang Cheng smiled with satisfaction. Wu Long is getting older and older, so he has been looking for opportunities to bleach himself ashore these years. However, the current Magic City is no longer what it was more than 10 years ago, and there is no chance for him to successfully bleach. In order for his only son to become a successful entrepreneur in the eyes of others, he invested too much. Zhang Cheng flicked the ashes of his cigarette and sat there calmly, with no intention of continuing. Wu Long understood. He was silent for a long time before he said, "Mr. Zhang, please tell me the conditions." Wu Long showed no resistance to Zhang Cheng's 4 words. "Do me a few favors." Wu Long frowned. "Is it that simple? Lu Feng and I have an unfinished project here. In addition, we will acquire 2 nearby real estate companies. You will be responsible for the stabilization work in 2 weeks. Combining local snakes and the Lu family as a guarantee will allow Zhang Cheng to be more confident in pushing the puppet Zhou to power when the announcement is made 2 weeks later. Don't worry about those people doing little things behind your back. In addition, I want you to find an opportunity to throw all the unclean properties under your control to Wang Hu under Songqing before you go ashore." Upon hearing this condition, Wu Long raised his eyebrows and said, "Mr. Zhang, the unclean industries under my control are the ones that bring in the most money the fastest. If you ask me to throw them all away, I will lose 2 to 3 billion yuan. This is only the profit that can be seen so far. 20 to 3 billion? If Songqing seizes the opportunity one day, do you think the Song family will let you continue? In this day and age, Songqing still dares to reach into the ground. Do you think he doesn't want to get rid of you? And don't forget, your first wife was killed by someone from the Song family's wife's natal family." At this point, Wu Long was suddenly startled, and his eyes were suddenly bloodshot and full of evil aura. Lu Feng, who was sitting obediently aside, was obviously sluggish at this moment. He and Wu Long had been fighting to the death for half their lives. But when he came here, Wu Long was not very angry. He thought it was because of Zhang Cheng's existence. Now seeing Wu Long's murderous look, he understood again that it turned out that the Lu family and Wu Long were just having fun. Although they fought fiercely in the early years, they did not endanger the people around them. Otherwise, just one word could make Wu Long, the underground boss, furious. If he were alive here, he would have been dragged out and killed long ago. "Mr. Zhang, how do you know about this?" "No one except my dead brother will know about this." Wu Long forced down the grief in his heart and his voice became hoarse. Zhang Cheng smiled slightly. "There is nothing in this world that I don't know." Then, the conversation changed and returned to the previous topic. "As long as you agree, the Song family and the person who killed your wife will be at your disposal in the near future. And I can promise that you can get a piece of the pie by annexing the Song family." "Thank you, Mr. Zhang, but as long as I can really see the hope of revenge, let alone the billions, I will be willing to pay any more." Wu Long shook his head. Hearing this, Zhang Chen nodded with satisfaction. "Know what's interesting?" Lu Feng was even more stunned now. He definitely knew how much Wu Long valued money. But now, with Zhang Cheng's words, he gave up 2 to 3 billion, and could even pay more. And I'm afraid even his father doesn't know some things. How did Zhang Chen know? Wu Long calmed down, picked up the cigar and took a deep breath. The smell of smoke filled his lungs and he coughed crazily. "Mr. Zhang, I agree to all the conditions you mentioned. As long as you can let me see that there is hope to destroy the Song family and the Hu family, my life will be yours. My son only asks you to make him a billionaire. How successful he is in this life depends on him." Zhang Chen nodded. He could still guarantee this. But, after remembering something, Zhang Cheng's eyes became weird again. "Wu Long, there is something I still want to tell you." Wu Long raised his head in surprise and asked doubtfully, "Mr. Zhang, please tell me." "Ahem, the son you are raising now is not your biological son." Suddenly, the huge private room became silent. It was as if time had stood still. Lu Feng's mouth opened wide. Damn it! Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 44. Wu Long turned to stone on the spot and his pupils shrank suddenly. The son I have raised for more than 20 years is not his biological son. What's the point of taking revenge? The strong impact almost made him faint. However, Zhang Cheng quickly added, he is the son of the brother who blocked the knife for you. Back then, he guessed that others would come to harm your family, so he secretly negotiated with your first wife and exchanged 2 children of about the same age. The facts prove that he was right. Your first wife was indeed killed. He also died that day because he helped you block the knife. And because you were busy fighting for territory at the time, your son didn't remember who he was, so they lived like this, exchanging identities. If your wife or one of your brothers hadn't died, this wouldn't have happened. In the past, if you wanted to get ahead, you didn't really need any connections. You had to make friends with so and so. At that time, everyone kept their heads in their belts and were ready to die at any time. Zhang Chen knew what was going to happen, so he revealed everything to Wu Long, but he still hid it. After everything is finalized, he will take Wu Long to recognize his son. Wu Long was stunned, and the past events that were buried deep in his memory emerged one after another. He was already aging, and there were tears falling from the corners of his eyes. He mixed up and fought his way out of that desperate era. His brother died blocking the knife for him, and he even thought that his son would be assassinated and sacrificed in exchange for him. But after he became rich, he never even visited his parents once. Fortunately, his son has been raised by himself for more than 20 years. Why does Mr. Zhang know these things? Didn't I say that there is nothing in this world that I don't know? Zhang Chen was calm, as if everything was under control. Then Mr. Zhang, my biological son, he is. Wu Long did not hesitate, his eyes were full of hope. Zhang Chen waved his hand to interrupt, and then said, when my matter is settled, I will take you to find him, and you can also arrange the property affairs of the 2 of you as soon as possible. Everything he does now is an ambush for the future. The so-called butterfly effect, even if it exists, can only be adjusted after all the ambush tactics are used. Wu Long nodded heavily, he also understood these things. Most of his property now is entertainment. After landing, all the property will be counted, and then he can make the best distribution. After chatting for almost 2 hours, Zhang Cheng stood up and said, just do everything I told you. If you have any news, call me. After saying that, he left with Lu Feng, who was a little confused. This time, Wu Long did not sit on the sofa, but stood up quickly, opened the private room door for Zhang Cheng, and followed him half a step away from Zhang Cheng. When he came out of the hall again, Zhang Cheng glanced at a man in a suit who lowered his head and said calmly, this man hooked up with one of the women you raised and wanted to use her to get all the information about your movements. Also, it's the person Wang Hu put in. Wu Long's eyes suddenly became sharp. He looked at the man whose expression changed with horror and shouted directly, catch him. 4 or 5 bodyguard-like figures immediately rushed forward and subdued the man in the suit easily. Snapped. A heavy slap sounded. Wu Long's eyes were fierce, full of murderous intent, and he said in a cold voice, bitch, I have been keeping you by my side for 2 or 3 years. No wonder I said that Wang Hu knows every move of mine every time. It turns out that you bastard is betraying me. The man in the suit was pale, trembling, and said in a trembling voice, Master Long, please forgive me. Master Hu threatened my family to do this. I really have no choice. Zhang Cheng on the side suddenly laughed, I'm afraid you haven't been bribed by Wang Hu when you slept with his woman. As soon as these words came out, the man in the suit collapsed on the ground, his eyes horrified, how did you know? Zhang Cheng didn't look at him, walked directly into the exclusive elevator and disappeared into the lobby. Fill him with cement and throw it into the sea to make it cleaner. Out of the nightclub door. Zhang Cheng stopped and suddenly slapped Lu Feng on the back of the head, who was walking stupidly in front. Why did you hit me? Lu Feng came back to his senses and asked sarcastically. Look at you like that. How incredible is it that such a little thing has happened to you? Follow me and learn to be smarter. Otherwise, one day you won't be able to help, and you will become a marginalized figure. Zhang Cheng sneered, he didn't just say it casually. Stealing opportunities from the protagonist, stealing business, and conquering some people are all things a villain should do. Some people may have done something outrageous. But what does it have to do with yourself? All I need is tangible results and a moral compass. As long as I don't harm nature or harm good people, then I am what I consider a good person. Hearing these words, Lu Feng was different this time. He quickly retreated behind Zhang Cheng and said with a smile, that won't work, I'm still waiting to do it with you, and then make a new Lu family, scaring the old man to death. Where's the family property? Zhang Cheng looked at his little movements and nodded with satisfaction. Very sensible. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 45. After leaving the nightclub, it was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It took Lu Feng nearly an hour and a half to get here from Zhang Cheng's villa. Brother Cheng, where are you going now? Lu Feng asked on the beltway. Zhang Cheng lay on the seat with his eyes slightly closed. Go home. After finishing today's work, he didn't have too many arrangements. Everything would have to wait until 3 days later. Regarding the protagonist at this stage, Zhang Cheng can neither kill him nor have any contact with him. Apart from snatching away all the opportunities and connections that belong to him in advance, there is nothing he can do at the moment. He can only take away the protagonist's luck value step by step. Buzz. Suddenly, Zhang Cheng's cell phone vibrated in his pocket. When I took it out and looked at it, I found that Chen Xiaoxi had sent me a WeChat message. Did he? Call cousin, are you there? Zhang Cheng quickly edited a message, I have something to say. On the other side, a smile appeared on Chen Xiaoxi's face while shopping in the mall. His slender fingers clicked quickly on the phone screen. Cousin, come quickly. Qingying and I are shopping in the mall. I'll send you the location. Come here quickly, your lovely cousin can only help you get here. Zhang Cheng looked at Chen Xiaoxi's WeChat and didn't know what to say. Originally, I wanted to leave Su Qingying alone for 2 days, but it was not good to have too frequent contact. Xiaoxi, your brother and I will never be arranged by you. Okay, give me your position. I'll be there in a minute. The thoughts in my heart were serious, but my fingers and brain typed out my thoughts honestly. Chen Xiaoxi happily sent the mall location to Zhang Cheng. That's great, Chen Xiaoxi, will lead the way. At this time, Su Qingying, who was walking in front, looked back and asked with a half smile, Xiaoxi, what are you laughing at again? Chen Xiaoxi was startled and quickly put away her phone. I'm not laughing. I just saw a post on Moments that made me laugh. Putting away his phone, Zhang Cheng suddenly said, there's no need to go back to the villa now. Go to the mall and I'll send you your phone's location. Since his little cousin has made all the arrangements for him, he can't let down his little cousin's hard work. Lu Feng didn't have any objections and directly opened the map navigation. Half an hour later, Zhang Cheng asked for Lu Feng's Lamborghini and threw him directly near a restaurant. Then he walked away under Lu Feng's resentful eyes. This is my car. Zhang Chenke doesn't care if it's his car, so what if he wants it himself? Follow the navigation to a large shopping mall. Park the car in the underground parking lot, then take the elevator, go straight to the 4th floor, go up to the 4th floor, after receiving the news from the spy's little cousin, change to another elevator and press the button for the 1st floor. Qingying, it's 6 o'clock, let's find a place to eat. At the brand name counter on the third floor, Chen Xiaoxi and Su Qingying came here to do some shopping. He was carrying several bags in his hands. After taking a look at the time on the lady's watch, Chen Xiaoxi said pitifully. Su Qingying nodded and expressed no opinion. Ding. At this time, the elevator just arrived at the third floor. When the elevator door opened, Su Qingying was a little surprised. Because in the elevator, she saw that familiar figure. Zhang Cheng. Still wearing the same black suit, she lowered her head and played with her mobile phone. Su Qingying was a little surprised when she looked at the handsome and prominent facial features. What a coincidence. Cousin? Why are you here too? Chen Xiaoxi's eyes lit up, very surprised. What a great performance. Hearing this, Zhang Cheng raised his head, looked at Chen Xiaoxi's flawless acting skills, and gave her a thumbs up in his heart. Ang, come here for a stroll and prepare to have a meal. Zhang Cheng's gentle voice also contained a hint of surprise. Su Qingying felt a little strange, but didn't think much about it. She nodded to Zhang Cheng and walked into the elevator. Is the world so small? At this time, Chen Xiaoxi said with a smile, what a coincidence, we are also going to have dinner. Where do so many coincidences come from? Some things you think are coincidences may be deliberately created by others. Zhang Cheng smiled gently, in that case, how about I invite you two to have dinner together? Su Qingying pondered for a while, but before she could speak, she was agreed by the enthusiastic Chen Xiaoxi on the side. Okay, I'm going to make you poor. Su Qingying was speechless. She had a vague feeling that she had accidentally been betrayed by her best friend. Soon, the three people went down to the first floor. Because Zhang Cheng drove a two-seater sports car and the two women did not drive here, they could only walk. It seems that you need to buy a car with more seats, otherwise how will you be able to fit in it in the future? Fortunately, this place is considered the center of a district, and there are many high-end restaurants near the mall. Taking Su Qingying and the others to a high-end Western restaurant that was relatively famous in Shanghai, Zhang Cheng took out a membership card for the restaurant and immediately came over with exclusive reception. The beautiful receptionist bent towards the three of them and asked respectfully, "Dear three guests, would you like to prepare a private room?" This time Su Qingying quickly grabbed the conversation and said calmly, "No need, just find a seat in the lobby on the second floor." After listening, the beautiful receptionist looked at Zhang Cheng, the owner of the membership card, and Zhang Cheng nodded and said, "That's it." The waiter led the three of them to the second floor and found a table by the window to sit down. Finished ordering the menu. Zhang Cheng has always wanted to find an opportunity to act like Chen Xiaoxi. When he saw the piano on the stage, his eyes suddenly lit up. "Piano, cousin, don't you know how to play the piano? Can you go up and play one?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 46. Zhang Cheng smiled and said nothing. He just scrolled through his phone quietly without saying a word. "Cousin, just one song, okay, just play one song," Chen Xiaoxi said pitifully. Putting away his phone, Zhang Cheng suddenly asked, "Okay, then tell me first, why do you want me to play the piano?" Chen Xiaoxi looked at her cousin's deep and bright eyes and smiled slyly. "Let me tell you secretly, Qingying's wife likes boys who can play the piano. Besides, Qingying's wife is a level 9 piano player, and she plays very well. In school, I don't know how many boys who sing well want to collaborate with Qingying's wife. Cooperation is fake, but trying to attract the goddess's attention is probably real." However, Zhang Cheng didn't find it surprising that Su Qingying could play the piano. After all, she was a truly talented woman. In order to satisfy the girl's vanity, Zhang Cheng still looked surprised. Seeing him looking at her, Su Qingying raised the corners of her mouth slightly. It's just non-professional. Ha, arrogant. Zhang Cheng caught the flash of pride in Su Qingying's eyes. What does it mean to be unprofessional? If you want me to compliment you, just say so. It's really outstanding. Zhang Cheng gave a thumbs up and praised. Hearing Zhang Cheng's praise, Su Qingying's beautiful eyes narrowed significantly, and the smile on her lips became more obvious. What a hypocritical woman. As if knowing Su Qingying's excellence, Zhang Cheng pondered for a while, then smiled and said, "What music do you want to listen to?" Chen Xiaoxi seemed to want to order a song, but then she remembered that she was here to bring her cousin and his eldest wife together, and she could no longer steal the limelight. So he said, "Cousin, you can do whatever you want." Su Qingying also nodded lightly, indicating that he was allowed to express himself freely. Seeing this, Zhang Cheng walked up. There was no pianist playing the piano at the moment, because it was dinner time and it was not yet 7 o'clock, so the pianist had not come on stage to play yet. Zhang Cheng slowly walked onto the platform, and a waiter walked up. "Bring me a microphone, thank you." He smiled at the waitress. Zhang Cheng sat down alone. The piano in front of him was a Steinway D model grand piano worth millions. As the founder of modern piano manufacturing, Steinway is also the choice of 97% of players around the world. With centuries-old handcrafted piano-making craftsmanship, the quality of each of their pianos is impeccable. When all preparations were completed, Zhang Cheng was dressed in a black suit and sat on the piano bench with a straight body. The body is tilted, and the gentle and magnetic voice spreads through the microphone in the hall on the second floor. The first piano piece I will play next is called City in the Sky. Please enjoy it. When all the young men and women who were eating on the second floor heard the sound, they put down their tableware and looked at the figure sitting in front of the piano. Chen Xiaoxi also let out a cry of surprise. City in the Sky? Qingying, have you heard of this piano music? Su Qingying thought for a while, then slowly shook her head, no. Is this piece of music original to this man? Before he had time to think about it, Zhang Cheng, who was sitting on the piano bench, suddenly moved. Ding! The first note appears. Watching Zhang Cheng's slender fingers slowly fall on the black and white keys of the piano, sweet piano sounds came out one after another. As the dull beginning ended, everyone's eyes gradually became surprised. For some reason, they actually heard a hint of sadness in the sound of the piano. Those white-collar workers and some young people pursuing their dreams actually brought back a trace of the sadness they experienced in the past when they were constantly striving for their dreams. But there is a sense of peace and healing. As the performance progressed, everyone was fascinated. Chen Xiaoxi closed her eyes slightly and hummed softly. Even Su Qingying was enjoying it with her eyes closed at the moment. Every note that penetrated her ears had a different emotion. Relevant to it, it makes people feel a little sentimental, but they are quickly healed, and their emotions rise and fall, and then they are calmed down. The sound of the piano is gentle and leisurely, lonely and sad. Different emotions arose in everyone's hearts, from sadness to healing. 3 minutes passed quickly. When the last note fell, everyone took a long time to calm down. Then, the first round of applause sounded, and then the whole hall was filled with applause in an endless stream. Sounds good. Is this piece an original piece? I also like to listen to piano music, but this piece of music is so good, but I have never heard it. Is it an original piece? Chen Xiaoxi also clapped her hands vigorously, fearing that her applause was not loud enough. My wife Qingying, this piano music sounds so good. Su Qingying calmed down her emotions and returned to her previous calm state. Well, the playing is very emotional. At this moment, Su Qingying had the urge to get to know Zhang Cheng. After everyone calmed down, the hall returned to silence, and Zhang Cheng did not step off the stage. Instead, he moved closer to the microphone and his voice became more magnetic. This is the first piano piece. Next, I want to play and sing another piece, Blue and White Porcelain. At this point, Zhang Cheng paused, then smiled mysteriously. I believe everyone will like this song. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 47. Blue and White Porcelain. I haven't heard of this song yet. Have you heard of it? I searched online and couldn't find it. It should be original again. Wait a minute, pay attention to the man playing the piano. He seems to be the president of the bankrupt giant Zhang Group, Zhang Cheng, who made a big fuss some time ago. Holy crap! It's really him. Mom, I saw myself. As soon as this discovery came out, the entire restaurant burst into discussion. On the stage, Zhang Cheng brought up the system panel. Skill, singing level 3, 1900/3000. Deduct 401 villain points. Amid the discussion, Zhang Cheng directly used the villain value to upgrade his level 3 singing skill to the full level. According to the system regulations, 1 point of villain value can be exchanged for 100 points of skill experience points. Upgrading to the full level requires a total of 40,100 experience points, which is 401 points of villain value. Zhang Cheng sat upright, closed his eyes slightly, and recalled the lyrics and songs of Blue and White Porcelain. After a moment, the hands gently landed on the black and white keys. After the key is struck, the linking rod drives the action, and the action hammer is lifted up and hits the steel wire accurately. The sound of the piano came out and floated in the restaurant. Maybe it doesn't sound very good, but there is an ancient style. This melody. Su Qingying raised her eyebrows. With her profound musical attainments, she could naturally tell that this piece of music was not very suitable for piano playing. But this man gave me a very uncomfortable feeling of comfort. A layman listens to the sound, an expert listens to the door. Zhang Cheng's piano skills no longer need to be like some people who deliberately show off their piano skills. Every key press with your fingers requires no skills. Just go with your heart. Move your hands with your heart to play a piece of music. She didn't think too much at the moment, and let her mind go to feel this piano music with a special melody. 20 seconds later, Zhang Cheng suddenly leaned closer to the microphone. The plain embryo outlines the blue and white brush strokes, which turn from thick to light. The first lyrics came out of his mouth through the microphone, which was magnetic and gentle, with a kind of elegance. Hearing this sentence, everyone present who was listening carefully could not help but tremble in their hearts. I feel like my heart is trembling. Sounds good. The peonies depicted on the bottle are just like your first makeup. The sandalwood scent comes through the window and I understand my thoughts. This time, everyone fell into despair. Regardless of men or women, they all fell silent in this song that relaxed their souls. The music and singing are reflected in the heart at the same time. You sing so beautifully. Chen Xiaoxi has completely become Zhang Cheng's little crush at this moment. If the previous castle in the sky only made her feel that Zhang Cheng was talented. So, this song Blue and White Porcelain that she played and sang completely made her voice control fall. She never thought that her cousin could sing a song so beautifully. It's simply better than those singing gods. The charm of the lady's picture rendered in glaze is kept secret, but your beautiful smile is like a bud waiting to bloom. A ray of your beauty drifts away and goes to places I can't go. There was a pause here for a second. The next moment, a singing voice came that made everyone even more fascinated. The sky is blue waiting for misty rain, and I am waiting for you. The smoke from the kitchen is rising thousands of miles across the river. At this moment, a scene appeared in everyone's mind involuntarily. A man in ancient costume stood by the river, the blue sky was waiting for misty rain, and smoke rose from the houses next to him. Thousands of miles away, he was also waiting for a date with the love in his heart. As your fingers slide over the surface of the keys, The sound of the piano and the singing blend perfectly. The banana outside the curtain provoked the shower door knocker and provoked the patina, and I passed by the small town in the south of the Yangtze River and provoked you. In splash ink landscape paintings, you are hidden from the depth of the ink. Soon, the singing came to an end. In the hall, only the sound of Zhang Cheng's piano and his singing floated. The Chinese-style music that has fascinated everyone is gradually reaching its final part. The sky is blue waiting for misty rain, and I am waiting for you. The moonlight was salvaged and the ending was fainted. Like the blue and white porcelain passed down from generation to generation, it is beautiful by itself, you. Smiling eyes. The last 4 words were spoken slowly, and the sound of the piano disappeared. The song ends. The blue and white porcelain song ended, but no one spoke. Everyone in the small Jiangnan town is immersed in the singing, as if they are in it. The blue sky is waiting for misty rain, and I. Waiting for the blue and white porcelain girl. This song is so powerful. I believe in love again. I feel that the blue and white porcelain girl I have been waiting for must also be waiting for me. President Zhang is so awesome. Not only is he handsome, he plays the piano well, and he also sings so well. He is so talented. The applause sounded like thunder, even more enthusiastic than the previous castle in the sky. Zhang Cheng stood up, smiled slowly, and walked off the stage. At this moment, at the entrance of the stairs, Su Yao, who had already reached the 2nd floor but was attracted by the singing, saw him. Su Yao saw Zhang Cheng walking down the stage with complicated thoughts and sitting in front of the 2 girls. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 48. Su Yao herself didn't know why she wanted to question Zhang Cheng. Strictly speaking, I only regarded him as a victim of interests in the past few days. Even marrying him was arranged by a group of people. She had no ability to resist, and she had no way to resist. But after seeing this, Su Yao was a little shaken. Would Zhang Cheng really be willing to be a son-in-law? If not, then why did he suddenly move out of his villa and pay back the 50 million he gave him? When he called his grandfather, he said the bet was still valid. But does that verbal bet really have any binding force on him? The answer is no. Will people who have stood at the top be bound by a verbal agreement? Zhang Cheng and himself are different. He is the only heir of the Zhang family, and there is no so-called side story. Starting from his grandfather, he worked hard all the way from an orphan to his father's generation, who was also an only son. Therefore, his perspective on the problem was very different from his own. She was just pushed onto the stage by her grandfather, and she was currently the one who could control the Su family for him. If it weren't for the fact that there was no one better than her in her generation, she wouldn't be able to take this position at all. She is just a victim of family interests. Su Yao's mood was extremely complicated at this moment. She really wanted to rush up and ask him what he meant. But on the one hand, their engagement was only a verbal agreement, and few people even knew about it. Those top aristocratic families who knew about this verbal engagement only regarded it as a joke. Maybe, you can take a look around. Zhang Cheng returned to his seat, looked at the strange looks on the 2 girls' faces, and couldn't help but smile. I haven't played for a long time, shouldn't it be a big problem? Chen Xiaoxi rolled her eyes, but was soon filled with excitement. Cousin, are the 2 pieces you just played your own original creations? And the blue and white porcelain at the end, it sounds great. From today on, I, Chen Xiaoxi, will be your #1 crush. Su Qingying also looked at Zhang Cheng with a little inquiry, hoping that he could answer. Zhang Cheng nodded, well, it's considered original. Jiezhou, I'm sorry, there are no songs of yours here anyway, so let me carry them forward for you. Your musical attainments are very high. Now I feel that you are a music king who has been delayed by a family of hundreds of billions. Su Qingying chuckled, receiving Zhang Cheng's approval. A strange light flickered in her eyes. The first song, City in the Sky, has a beautiful melody with touching and beautiful melody. The second song, Blue and White Porcelain, when she heard him singing the lyrics, she felt that this melody was not very suitable for playing on the piano, but because of his perfect piano skills, it was not inconsistent at all when it was integrated. The Chinese style in it is very strong. Among all the Chinese style songs she knows, this one can definitely be regarded as the pinnacle. The rain breaks through the sky and the sky is sunny, using scarcity as a metaphor for beauty. Maybe, but my songs are only sung for beauties, and my songs are only played for people who understand. Zhang Cheng took a sip of water and smiled gently. On the side, Chen Xiaoxi also asked curiously, then am I a beauty? You sang for me. I don't understand piano, but Qing Ying's wife does. Cousin, you must play for her. When Zhang Cheng saw her stretching her head over, he raised his hand and gave her a shudder. It hurts. Zhang Cheng glared at her angrily. Do you think you are the most beautiful here? Chen Xiaoxi and Su Qingying can only be said to be different, but Su Qingying's appearance is much higher than Chen Xiaoxi's. My little cousin can only be described as cute with a little bit of baby fat. Su Qingying is the kind of person. At first glance, I think she is very quiet. She has a perfect goddess oval face, quick eyes, and short hair that is parted to 40 to 60 cents, which makes her look youthful and lively. Every time he looked at Su Qingying, Zhang Cheng felt that she had a different style. If you are so good at coaxing girls, you must have many girls around you, right? Su Qingying heard Zhang Cheng's words and laughed like a silver bell. There is no shortage of girls around, but there is a shortage of a girl like you. Zhang Cheng shrugged his shoulders, non-committal. Su Qingying smiled, picked up the knife and fork and cut the Wellington steak without replying. Chen Xiaoxi blinked her big watery eyes and couldn't help laughing secretly while listening to the conversation between the two people. Is my cousin attracted to Qingying's wife? Qingying's eldest wife actually didn't defend herself. Is there any sign of this? Zhang Cheng didn't care whether she answered or not. Anyway, he gave the answer in his heart. Ding. Congratulations to the host for getting Su Qingying's favorability add 15. Villain value add 600. The three of them were eating exquisite Western food with their own thoughts. However, while the three people were silent, a slightly surprised voice sounded next to them. Huh? What a coincidence, Zhang Cheng, are you eating here too? Look up. I only saw Su Yao in professional attire, holding a black Hermes Birkin on her hand, looking at them curiously. Zhang Cheng looked at Su Yao, and the faint smile on his face froze slightly. I was caught raped. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shenhao, My Fiancée is a Villain Female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 49. Zhang Cheng looked at the tall Su Yao, a little stunned. He really didn't expect to bump into her in this situation. Seeing Su Yao's bright smile on her face, Zhang Cheng suddenly felt that something was wrong. As for the Yao girl, Zhang Cheng doesn't want to see her now. And Zhang Cheng has never seen Su Yao show such a bright smile. She must have heard it all. Yeah, what a coincidence. Zhang Cheng thought a lot in 1 second and quickly stood up to respond to her. This is my cousin, Chen Xiaoxi. You probably haven't seen her before. Sitting next to her is her classmate, Su Qingying. After introducing Su Yao, Zhang Cheng followed the two girls and said, this is the beautiful president of Su Group, Su Yao, you should have heard of her. Su Yao waved generously, hello. Hello. Su Qingying nodded quietly in response. Chen Xiaoxi also smiled back and said hello, how are you, President Su University? After hearing Zhang Cheng's introduction, Su Yao put down her guard against the baby-faced Chen Xiaoxi, but she became wary of Su Qingying, who was like a perfect girl. She is so beautiful. Although Su Yao is very confident in herself, she actually feels wary when facing such a girl. This feeling is very complicated. Su Yao's consciousness keeps telling herself that she has nothing to do with Zhang Cheng. After he and she no longer have a so-called oral engagement, she might be able to find a better one. But her eyes were not under conscious control, and Su Qingying noticed the flash of vigilance. Our food has just been served. Do you want to sit down and have dinner together? After saying hello, Zhang Cheng returned to his gentle and elegant state. Su Yao shook her head gently and declined. My friend and I booked a private room here. We just came up to see you and came to say hello. In fact, she wanted to stay, but her friend was still waiting for her in the private room. Okay then, Zhang Cheng nodded. Well, luckily your friend knows how to open a private room. Sister Yao, let's go quickly. Eat in the lobby. Sorry for your status as CEO, this place is not suitable for you. Chen Xiaoxi was eating and watching the fun on the side. It seemed that her cousin had a good rapport with women. Even the female CEO was fascinated by him. No, I have to create opportunities for Qingying's wife. I can't let my cousin be picked up by the beautiful CEO. Then I won't disturb you, I'll go up first. After saying the previous sentence, Su Yao said in a strange way, come back and live when you have time. I'm afraid you won't be used to being alone outside. After turning around and leaving, Su Yao felt her face was a little hot and quickly walked into the private room. Zhang Cheng's face suddenly stiffened. Oops. Glancing out of the corner of his eye, he noticed that Chen Xiaoxi was suddenly angry and scrutinizing. Su Qingying didn't change much, she was still eating steak Wellington elegantly. Cousin, what's your relationship with President Suda? Why did she let you go back to live with her? Chen Xiaoxi stared at Zhang Cheng, as if she was going to overturn the table if she didn't give her a reasonable explanation. In fact, Chen Xiaoxi really thinks so. I used my old nose skills to be a matchmaker for my cousin, but I didn't expect that he already had a partner. Snored. Annoying. Zhang Cheng sighed, took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, and asked, do you mind having a cigarette? Okay, thank you. Without waiting for the two girls to answer, Zhang Cheng lit it up and took a sip. In fact, most high-end Western restaurants have an implicit agreement not to smoke in front of the table, but here, it will be like a decoration. Zhang Cheng's behavior of smoking made Su Qingying frown. She didn't like people who smoked while eating. Ding. Su Qingying's favorability score -5. Zhang Cheng didn't pay attention, but said to himself, you all should know the news about my bankruptcy some time ago, right? Chen Xiaoxi nodded, of course she knew, but in order to take care of her cousin's emotions, she never dared to mention Jiang's topic. Although I don't want to talk about the following things, it doesn't hurt to tell you. Just don't spread it. Su Qingying also slowed down her eating speed, wanting to hear his story. 5 days ago, I moved out of Jiang's villa with no place to go and less than 100 yuan on me. It was Su Yao who picked me up from the side of the road after receiving Mr. Su's message. After returning home, Mr. Su comforted me for a while, and then mentioned to me the engagement agreement between them and my parents when I was a child. I was so lost at the time that I agreed without thinking about anything. When I thought about it the day before yesterday, I felt something was wrong. The treaty was all beneficial to the Su family, but to me, it seemed like a humiliation. No matter how bad I, Zhang Cheng, am, I can't be a son-in-law, right? She transferred 50 million to me at that time, but I didn't move it. There was no way I would use such humiliating money. So, I resolutely moved out. It just so happened that a company I invested in before had achieved results, and I recently had a few hundred million in funds on hand, which can be regarded as the capital for me to start from scratch. Su Yao has no feelings for me. She is only willing to let me live under the same roof with her out of interest for the family. I have been avoiding them, but I didn't expect to meet her today, haha. Zhang Cheng's last laugh contained a hint of helplessness and shame, and his eyes were extremely complicated. At this time, the cigarette clip in his hand had burned to the cigarette butt, and Zhang Cheng pressed the cigarette butt into the ashtray filled with coffee powder. He picked up a glass of lemonade and took a sip, exhaling a long breath. After listening to Zhang Cheng's long narration, Chen Xiaoxi and Su Qingying were silent for a while. After hearing this, Chen Xiaoxi was not angry at all. It turned out that her cousin had been living such a miserable life these past few days. No one can bear to be forced like this by the Su family who once looked down upon him. Not to mention a proud person like my cousin. Similarly, Su Qingying also felt that the Su family pushed Zhang Cheng a little too much. No wonder Su Yao looked at her with a hint of wariness in her eyes just now. Her family is also not simple, and she has a very clear view of these upper-class affairs. Zhang Cheng has a large number of high-quality human resources in his hands. Controlling him is equivalent to taking over Jiang's past achievements. And asking him to fulfill the so-called oral engagement is tantamount to asking him to become a wife and tying him to the Su family. Such behavior is a huge humiliation for Zhang Cheng, the president of a billion-dollar group, and will be looked down upon by all people in the upper class. She also understood why Zhang Cheng had a beard when she first met him in the academy. I'm afraid he had a very hard and humiliating time during his bankruptcy. At this time, the system prompt sounded again in Zhang Cheng's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for getting Su Qingying's favorability at 25. Current favorability, 45. Hearing the notification tone, Zhang Cheng couldn't help but sigh. I'm really a best actor. Shenhao, my fiancée is a villain female CEO. Author, Floating Like Sand. Chapter 50. Zhang Cheng looked at the complicated eyes of the two people and felt infinite emotion in his heart. It would be a shame not to become an actor myself. But he didn't go too far. For an ordinary super-rich second generation, being restricted by such a treaty would indeed feel infinitely humiliating. Seeing their twinkling eyes, Zhang Cheng knew that Yao Mi's status in their eyes began to decline. I'm sorry, Miss Yao. You showed up at the wrong time, which will only make you a scheming beautiful CEO. Zhang Cheng couldn't bear for a second for what he had done, and he became righteous again. It's all about freedom. Cousin, why don't you come to our house? Grandpa and the others will be very happy. After the silence, Chen Xiaoxi looked seriously into Zhang Cheng's eyes and said. My cousin has nothing to say about how good his family is, and his family is not as complicated as other families. If my cousin is willing to come, Grandpa and Dad will definitely be very happy. Although my family is not as rich as others, I still have billions. Under Chen Xiaoxi's expectant gaze, Zhang Cheng slowly shook his head. No, that will harm the Chen family. I have the confidence to start a new business. Xianizi, you don't have to worry about it, just study hard. Zhang Cheng's words were full of confidence, as if the difficulties in front of him were only temporary. Even if there was a behemoth like the Su family pressing down, he would have the confidence to break through the blockade and face the difficulties. Become a master again. Su Qingying's eyes showed some appreciation. A successful man is not only on the surface, but also on the inside. It was obvious that Zhang Cheng's words were in line with her temperament. It is not terrible to fall in setbacks. What is terrible is that after falling, he will not stand up again, but lie on the ground unable to recover. In contrast, Su Yao, who came just now, although she is also the president of Qinyi Group and is equally famous in Shanghai, her performance just now made her a little disappointed. Too scheming. Chen Xiaoxi nodded repeatedly. Yeah, if you have any difficulties, just tell my dad. Our family still has some money. Zhang Cheng smiled. Xiaonizai is so easy to fool. Jingle bell bell. At this moment, Su Qingying's cell phone placed on the dining table suddenly rang. She quickly picked up the phone and answered it. Hey, Grandpa. Well, I understand, I'll go back now. Su Qingying answered briefly, hung up the phone quickly, looked at the two of them apologetically, and said, Xiao 11, Zhang Cheng, I have something to do at home, so I will go back first. I'll treat you to dinner when I have time. Zhang Cheng lived up to his previous sadness and regained his previous calmness. He smiled and said, Okay, if you are in a hurry, do you want me to take you back? Su Qingying's eyes flashed with a smile, and she rejected him. My family has come to pick me up, so there won't be any trouble. With that said, he picked up the results of today's shopping and left. Through the window, Zhang Cheng saw a top-of-the-line Maybach parked outside the restaurant. A middle-aged man opened the backseat door. Su Qingying got in and quickly disappeared from sight. Seeing the scene in front of her, Chen Xiaoxi was not surprised. She had always felt that her status as a good best friend was not simple. Otherwise, how could we remain indifferent to so many wealthy second-generation people showing off their wealth every day? But after seeing the car she was sitting in, she turned around and spoke to Zhang Cheng in an ambiguous voice. Cousin, you have to work hard. You can see clearly that the car my wife is riding in is a top-of-the-line Maybach. It costs 14 million, and it is a limited edition. The people who own this car are all from well-established families. If you don't work hard, you and my Qingying wife will definitely be disliked when you go to meet your father-in-law and mother-in-law. Chen Xiaoxi said with a smile that if Zhang Cheng was still the president of Qinyi, she would not be worried at all. As the president of Qinyi, no other family would dare to say that they would not stand against them. Zhang Cheng raised his hand to pinch her round face and said calmly, No one in this world can say that I am not worthy of her. All he wants to gain money and status is time. His vision is very far-sighted. The plot seems simple at the beginning, but there is a big twist later. Even Ye Tian, who is known as the protagonist of The Orphan, has an equally unfathomable identity behind him. After settling the bill, Zhang Cheng sent Chen Xiaoxi back to school and then returned to the villa. This Lamborghini Aventador was also driven back by him. That guy Lu Feng would not be short of this one. Back in the lobby of the villa, Zhang Cheng sat on the sofa, took out his phone and looked at WeChat. His WeChat account is basically full of rich people and CEOs, as well as a bunch of rich second generations. As for how many people have deleted him now, it is unknown. After opening WeChat, Zhang Cheng saw that Lin Qingjian actually sent him a WeChat message, so he opened WeChat and chatted with her for a while. Regarding Lin Qingjian, Zhang Cheng was also in a very delicate state. At this stage, I neither have a relationship with her that goes beyond pure friendship, nor am I too distant from her. It would also be nice to add some villain value to her from time to time. After chatting with her for a while, Zhang Cheng successfully gained 10 points of favorability and 300 points of villainy in Lin Qingjian, a pure and lovely school beauty. The later the favorability level is, the harder it is to increase it, and the later the level is, the higher the villain value obtained each time. After chatting, Zhang Cheng saw several WeChat messages sent to him by Zhou Hao. A thoughtful smile suddenly appeared on his face.